Hey, welcome back. You're in the C Space Studio here at CES with me, James Kotecki, and with us is Jeff Jury, Senior Vice President and General Manager of Connected Car at Xperi. Welcome back, Jeff. This is your fourth time chatting with us.
Yes, thank you. Number 4.
You're a veteran of the C Space Studio, and we're so glad to welcome you back.
Thank
from
you.
Your perspective here at the beginning of 2025. So I always have you define the brand, but maybe brands continue to change and evolve and position themselves. So what does Xperi mean and stand for here at the beginning of 2025?
Yeah, so Xperi is all about an immersive entertainment experience in the home, in the car, or wherever you're going. And what I'm really focused on is in the car, or in the mobility device, let's call it that, because the definition of car is changing a little bit.
100%. We've seen, I even saw, I mean, I think there's probably a lot of autonomous vehicles here on display at CES. There was one ad that I saw on the strip for a car that I think some are actually now starting to be active out in the world as well. So what's your message then here at CES 2025? What are you here to say?
We're looking at the fact that if you go to this show floor, you'll see autonomy everywhere. You'll see dump trucks with autonomy. You'll see trash trucks. You'll see cars. You'll see everything. And with all that autonomy, it really increases the opportunity to have a more immersive entertainment experience in the cabin or in the vehicle.
Yeah.
And so we're really about how do you do that, how do you do it effectively, how do you do it in a way that the consumer or the passengers really get an amazing experience.
So what are some of the things that you're able to provide now that people might be interested in as far as the level of immersion that you're talking about?
Well, actually today, this week, we're demonstrating IMAX Enhanced in the vehicle, which is an improved audio and visual experience in a Mercedes vehicle. It's a partnership we did with Mercedes and Sony. And we're also showing our AutoStage platform, which is really about how you have content discovery and how you have a content-first experience where it doesn't really matter what the pipe is that provides the content. You get what you want when you want it.
All right, so I want to dive into both of those things. When you say IMAX, what is actually the experience that someone is having in the car? Are they literally getting something comparable to an IMAX screen? What does that mean?
Well, yes, what they're getting is a different aspect ratio, which is the shape of the screen, which is you get different in IMAX in the theater. But importantly, from our perspective, we're providing the audio codec, so you're having an advanced audio experience in the car. Cool. And you think of a car environment with all those speakers, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah. Okay. And then when it comes to the second point that you mentioned, which is not necessarily caring where the pipe is coming from, tell me more about that, because there are many different choices, different pipes, if you will, for people to listen to different kinds of audio entertainment. How far down the line are we towards really integrating that and having a seamless user experience?
I think what you're starting to see is that's a reality now. What we're starting to show is this ability to take all this content, and it doesn't matter where it comes from, aggregate it, and allow the consumer to decide what they like, and help them to discover new content based on what they've liked in the past. And the thing you have to avoid with a vehicle is you think of your phone and all those apps. You can't be picking through 500 apps while you're in a vehicle, right? It has to be presented, aggregated, and sent to you in a way that you can react to it effectively while you're in a vehicle.
So is the technology that you're talking about something that pairs with the phone, or is this all entirely kind of built into the car?
This is all in the car. We're independent of the phone, and we think that's very important for the automotive industry. We think they want to maintain that relationship with the customer, and so they should have that direct interface where the consumer, the driver, the passengers interact with the dash.
I mean, many people may have had this experience. I know I've had with rental cars, for example, and I try to plug the phone part in, and it's like there's other phones in there, and my phone's not working for some reason, and it doesn't quite.
Right.
It would be nice to have something seamless.
It all has to be more intuitive.
Yeah. So tell me about the car journey experience then. If everything that you're doing is going right, give me an example of somebody getting from their house to their office or whatever it might be. Give me some examples of some of the enhancements people might be able to experience thanks to this.
I think what you're seeing, and I'm going to add in a little bit of AI into this, right? Because what you're doing now is you're saying you're getting the content when you want it. You may be getting content recommended to you based on the experience you're having on your drive. Let's say, maybe you're not going to the office, but let's say you're going down to the shore. Maybe it's offering or recommending content to you based on where you're at. Or maybe you're stuck in traffic and it says, hey, I'm going to give you some mellow content because you're getting a little exercise here and you might be getting a little stressed out from all this. So it's really where the vehicle has a better understanding, if you will, of what you need to experience to have a better, more relaxed time.
And where are you and kind of coming in along the spectrum of full autonomy, augmentation, partial autonomy? How do you think about playing in a world where we're certainly not at the point now where everything is fully automated, but we need to kind of be playing in different zones?
Yeah, I think that's a good analogy, zones, because I think you're going to see quite a bit of autonomy, but not full autonomy, right? I think that's going to take some more time. Yeah. Having said that, you're seeing, you go to the show floor now, there's self-driving dump trucks, there's all this great industrial product that now you don't need a driver for, or you need less driver attention. Right. And that to me is really an amazing change over the last couple years, that technologies you originally thought were going to be for consumers are now moving into industrial space.
And I mean, we're talking about using this technology for entertainment. Are we also thinking about it as far as like productivity? I'm thinking if I'm paying an employee to be on the job, maybe if they have time to listen to the content, maybe I want that to be more productivity oriented or something like that. Is there a kind of future of work component to some of this?
I think so. We described it as the third space between the office and the home. Yeah. And really, if you blend that together, you could have more productivity. You could do your conference calls from your office, which is really the car, and maybe it's presented to you in a way that's very different than it used to be, where it's much more interactive.
But I kind of want your version of the future, like the entertainment version, to succeed. I'm not saying that's your only version of the future, but I guess that's the version that I want to succeed, because I don't want to have to feel pressure when I'm in my automated vehicle to answer more emails, right?
Well, that's why it's a third space. You want that. A lot of people view the car, that ride home, as the most relaxing time.
It's my sacred space.
It's your sacred time, sacred space.
Time.
That's right.
So we talked a little bit about AI. How do you make sure that AI is doing the, I'm going to put it in quotation marks, right thing? Whatever you define as what the right thing is. Would you put any kind of guardrails and guidelines around that? Yeah,
that's really an interesting area that everyone's starting to look at. I think you have to have human interaction in all this, so you can't just let it run amok. And really, I think what you're going to see in the future is a lot more AI, but not a continual stream of AI. Like it's broken up with human interaction to make sure you don't run into this problem where things are going off the rails.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah. And do you think about the future of autonomous driving and people commuting? If you're commuting in rush hour traffic, you look in most cars, there's one person in the car.
Yes.
Right? We can imagine a future of autonomy where we build vehicles that are maybe more designed for smaller groups of people, smaller than 4, maybe 1 or 2 people. But what's the future that you're building for and thinking about with that? Is it the individual in the car? Is it groups in the car? Is it families in the car? And how does that change the dynamic of what you're offering?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it's more individuals or families. Yeah. I think the one thing with groups is you start creating mini buses, and most people might not like that.
Right, yeah.
Now, I do believe there might be in some environments, for instance, go back to a topic we've talked about in the past, flying cars.
Yes.
Right, and if you do get this ability to have a commute where there's a new mode where instead of it being, maybe these drones over New Jersey are actually flying cars.
Sure.
And so maybe what would you just have?
The Jetsons come from the future to warn us about.
And so you get these flying cars, and that's how maybe you engage with a broader audience, or you have more people that aren't part of a family unit in a vehicle.
When it comes to even families, though, some people might want to listen to different things.
That's right.
Is how good is the present or the near future in terms of targeting audio, maybe to different
Yeah, I think that's there today.
Okay.
Yeah, you could have entertainment. You see a lot of cars now where the front passenger, can have a different visual audio experience with the screen compared to the driver. Yeah. And then obviously people in the back could be different. So you could have 3 or 4 zones in a vehicle very easily.
What's the current thinking on whether a driver should be able to have a screen in front of them? And the distraction nature of that and how that plays into it. I know once we get to full autonomy, that'll totally be solved, but as we're saying, we're not totally there yet.
Yeah, I think for the foreseeable future, you're going to have the driver cannot look at a screen while they're driving.
Yeah.
I think that's going to remain. That doesn't mean the passenger can. Yeah. And you'll start seeing more and more screens. In fact, most dashes nowadays are starting to become a screen all the way across.
It is. So it's a bit of a blend anyway.
That's right.
Right. I love talking to you about the future. Is there something when you think 5 or even more years out that you have a prediction about that you think you believe is true, but others might not?
This industrial automation I'm seeing here, I think, is very interesting. I think you're going to start seeing a lot more of what you would always assume, like a trash truck, is being fully automated that you didn't see in the past. And I hadn't really given that much consideration up until I saw what was going on at this show. And I think that's really probably the future of a lot of this automation.
Yeah, and it seems like that might be a way that it could be done maybe safely or maybe with more trained professionals who are kind of in there as opposed to just a free reign, just give it to all consumers, full autonomy. Right. It seems like that's maybe the more safe
And there's a standard route that they're driving, right? And I think that would have a big part of it. And then I just saw something where someone said they'd use AI to determine as the trash is being dumped in whether you're separating the recycling from the trash. So there's a whole world of what you can do with this.
AI to do some recycling shaming there. What are you listening to in the car right now? What do you recommend? What do you like?
I think podcasts are great. I think TED Talks. I think where the idea of a visual experience like a TED Talk and an audio experience blend together, I think creates a whole new area where you can learn or entertain yourself while you're driving down the road.
Well, Jeff Jury, you've been with us 4 times, and I can't imagine that we won't have you back for a 5th. Thank you very much for coming, Jeff Jury from Xperi.
Thank you
for joining us. And thank you so much for joining us. Don't go anywhere. We've got more to come here in the C Space Studio from CES 2025. I'm James Kotecki. Stay with us.